Yo, hello, people of Substack Stream. What's up? How are you? Um, Trying to see once again. We are at the. How do I know if people are on the stream? Um, Today's going to be pretty fun. We've got a pinup for Chris Anderson's "Something Seems Off," which is a super fun little comic. He's got couple issues like done and in the can. It was a bunch of stuff that he did originally for heavy metal, and now he is publishing that stuff and finishing up the story and all that jazz through Power Pulp Comics, the best comic distributor in the world. Let's see here. How do I see my notifications? If you are here, hi, how are you? Creating a comic pin for Chris Anderson. Okay, wait, I can do this. We can do this. Oh, and that's on, and I don't want that on. One day we'll figure this whole thing out. But let's get to drawing. Speak stream. Boom, we got it. We're here. I penciled this whole thing out traditionally or digitally rather, and then printed it off on my computer in a blue line. So we're just gonna kind of get in on it, and hopefully, if you're here and you're about out and about, and you want to give a little notification, hopefully, yep, it's right there. We can see notifications. Great. Feel free to talk. I'll be looking at my computer every now and then to make sure everything's working and seeing if there's any notifications. Then we can actually have a discussion rather than me just sitting and talking. So this book is very weird in like the best way. Some of the pinups that Chris has in it are just phenomenal. He showed me some, and I was like, "Oh man, I gotta really like up my game." I've got the camera placed a little bit closer to my face now, so it's should be looking at the board a little better than it has been in the past. Don't really let my ink line be pretty lush at the start of this. Chris is one of those people who has like such a strong sense of monster design. So now I'm just kind of trying to figure out and ape his design for a monster. mixed with my sensibilities. It's a weird combination, the two of us. Would love to, and I'm sure we will at some point. Uh, pencil some work and then trade for the inks. That'd be fun. Probably going to use a lot of little tools and a lot of little techniques for this thing. Break out my China marker for some shading and some fun dry brushing mixed with these like really bold ink lines. This isn't really spoilers type book. You're not don't feel like I'm giving anything away. The assignment was just like, do whatever you want in this world, and I was like, all right. Let's go crazy. Typically, when that happens, I always draw a Cyclops, not Cyclops of the X-Men, a mythological Cyclops, which is fun for me. Whenever it's like, hey, draw whatever you want, I'll draw a Cyclops. Like a Minotaur or something. In this story, there are these little creatures that like get inside your body and then explode your body out, which is very fun to draw. It's very odd. I need to talk to Chris about how he came up with this idea because it's so weird. It's funny. A lot of people ask me how do I work and what do I listen to when I'm working or anything, and mostly it's this. It is just sitting in abject silence while I just sit and draw. There's no, it's like no thought, just drawing. All the thought is dedicated to the line. That being said, I can talk and draw at the same time. So if you have any questions, and hopefully I'll be able to see it in the stream, we can turn this into something fun. Not me just sitting around doodling. It's a fun little monster. Chris also has these little creatures in this book, and I didn't add them in the original drawing, so some of it maybe you can't really sell on the screen, but like this little guy, they were drawn in just with a blue pencil. Really, really rough because I wanted to add a third element, one more dimension to the quote unquote story that I'm drawing. It was also after these other guys' pinups started coming in. I was like, ah, man. Gotta add more stuff. Gotta make mine cool. I don't typically draw stuff that would look like it would work for heavy metal magazine. The other guys can just draw like a figure, right? And it's like, oh yeah, it looks like it works. Who knows? Maybe I'm just overcompensating. I feel like I should come in with these live streams with a subject that I should talk about. Maybe that's the next the next iteration of this is not me just rambling. Me rambling on a subject. Thanks, Chip, for sharing. Sharing the stream. Maybe completely black, I don't know. Some shadow. Might have to go darker. You know what I can do? Just reach for. Where is it? There it is. China marker. You want to have a little bit of shading and a broken line, but still be that pure black. China marker is really great. They're really something. I was a tool that I was never quite comfortable with or really familiar with, and then I started reading a bunch of Wash Tubbs and Captain Easy and Buzz Sawyer, which Roy Crane, and he uses a China marker a lot to get this toned shadow. And it's really great because it comes in pure black, right? Like that is the same color when it's scanned and all processed as this pure ink line black. But because of the wax nature of the tip, the actual thing that you're using, the crayon, it comes off, and if you're using a slightly rough piece of paper like I am, I use vellum, it gives this nice little tonal variation. So it's a little random, but it also goes on black, and then the only thing that's making it gray is how much white is actually peeking through the crayon, the wax. So you can get some cool kind of variations. And it's great for shadow work. It's great for texture work. I really enjoy using it. Now, I enjoy using it now. I used to hate it. It never did what I wanted it to do, and then it was looking at a bunch of Roy Crane work, and I went, oh, things just click years and years down the road. I've had this China marker for a really long time. I just never ended up using it. Now I use it a lot. It's a fun line. Weird folds and arms. arm muscles. Chris, one of the things that Chris does when he designs monsters is he puts like weird tentacles on everything, and I love it. So when I was coming up with the design for this Cyclops creature, I put a weird uh, tentacle on his head. And it looks like it's kind of root-like. Um, and I did it purely because I felt like that is what Chris would do. That's weird. Chris is a weird guy. Don't let him fool you. He seems so not weird. And then you read his comics, you're like, who are you? On a different note, IC3tober is coming up, and Matt Sardo and I are coming up with the list. We've been calling down a list of creator-owned characters. That's kind of our big thing right now is creator-owned characters for the list. Some cool guys. You know, Gru wasn't on the list last year, and that seems silly. So Gru is the character 100%. I can give you with 100% security will be on this list. For IC3tober. And I gotta figure out when I'm gonna do those. Because I am going out of town in October. Like the first couple of weeks, or the first week in October, I will not be at my desk at all. I'm hoping to have the project that I'm working on right now that I can't talk about. Hopefully, I will have a good portion of that book inked, maybe the whole thing inked, and I can just do colors when I'm flying and on the road. Sure, fun. Love when you find a line. And I've been using these brushes these silver black velvets for, gosh, almost a decade now. They are my brush of choice. This one's really great. Sometimes you get a brush and you're like, I'm fighting it a little bit. Sometimes you get a brush and you're like, wow, this is perfect. Who knew brushes could be this good? And you try to like keep that brush as long as you can. But sometimes brushes have their own personality, and you get like lines that you didn't expect that you would get from a brush, or that you've never gotten before. Like in the last year, I've been doing this kind of dry brushy uh, tone line, hitting the figure and kind of breaking up the form with these dry brush lines. I'd never used to do that before, but the humidity and the way that the ink dries in the pot and the way that the ink stays on the brush, and how unprecious and thick of a bold line that I need. I'm able to get these fun, this different style lines that I'm not, that is new to the style of how I'm drawing, and um, going in, toning things out. Started when I was doing, I think it started with the Pokemon sketches. Really, and I was just like, oh yeah, just getting some fading and some shadowing in. If you haven't seen, I'm posting them on Instagram. I've been doing these Pokemon sketches. I'm going through the list, the first 150. And I'll be done with that hopefully this year. That's the plan. That's the goal. Maybe it started a little bit before I was doing those. Maybe it started at Wizard Cowboy. The tonal thing. I don't know where I saw it first either. Might have just been looking at manga and different art forms. Been going to museums a lot and expanding my mind, not just with comics. liking this. I'm liking this. Now we'll get to the heroes of the piece are down here. It's a big monster with the heroes being pretty small. Kind of the weird Chris Anderson tentacles gonna come out. I just snap this tip. Yeah, we're good. What I really love about these nibs these Galat 290s, which if you've been on a stream before, you've heard me talk about it, is the line variation it gets. It feels almost like a brush line. It's very thin. What it means is I can kind of keep the feel of the rest of the piece, right? This brush stroke. Quality. Bring it down like I've just brush inked like this entire guy, and then coming down to the smaller characters, the smaller figures, and not necessarily having to brush them. So I can take this small line, get really thin, but the line is still this organic brush line. Sometimes when I was working with microns or pit pens or anything, I never liked the final result. It didn't feel like it was a unified piece, right? It felt like here's where I'm using the pit pens, here's where I'm using the brush. And with this nib, I don't have that problem. My eye doesn't have that problem, I guess. I don't know how well that actually shows up, right? I don't know if anyone really cares but me. you know. Like I don't, and by caring I mean I don't know if anyone really notices. It's, I notice. I guess that matters. This creature here is another me attempting to do a Chris Anderson monster. What time is it? I don't even know. 2:48. Lovely. Probably going to go until 4 o'clock. Unless this piece gets done before then, which I don't suspect it will. But 2 hours of inking while streaming seems significant. Phone is buzzing. All right. Cool. So here's the thing. We've got these creatures. We've got the heroes of the piece are kind of blocked in now. I'll probably add some shadowing, some I'll go in with the marker. We've got a creature here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these weird Chris Anderson monsters. Everything else I kind of made up, except for the heroes. So now I know these things exist in Chris's mind, and so I have reference I've pulled up on my phone. I just need to make sure I don't mess them up. So I'm gonna do some more drawings. This is going by really quickly. I didn't expect this piece to not, like, if I didn't add these little guys in, we'd be done in maybe 10 minutes. Guy would never design this thing. It's so fun looking. And they're so cool, but it's like so weird. I wish my brain could do this. It just doesn't work that way. Sometimes I think, I've really limited myself creatively when I'm it's like, Jamie, what do you want to draw? It's hobos. Like, that's not. It's not these fun monsters. Should draw more fun monsters. no arms, bird things with teeth and they're terrifying. That foot line for this big old guy. Fun. Am I going to brave it and just kind of... Going straight with ink. Ooh. Yeah, these weirdo monsters, man. They're so fun. So much fun. Go in here. Make it so these guys are kind of coming out of the mist a little bit, out of the sand. a little different depth. I'm also going to go in and color this. So some of this some of the shading here might be colorized. I've got one more of these creatures back here, and I'm thinking maybe I might just kind of outline it. I feel like this is a real trust the process moment, because guy's coming in real rough. But then he will be almost this is really driving me nuts. This little hanging off part. Yeah. He's back there. He's faded and back. That'll do. That's a good compromise. This piece is coming along. I'm pretty pleased. Pretty pleased. Like I said, a lot of this is going to be I mean, it's going to be colored, so I feel like it's going to have a pretty different feel once it's all once everything's said and done. Maybe not. Maybe I'll color it in a way that retains a lot of the inky quality. It's all about texture. Inking is all about texture. I feel like that's not something that they teach you when you start inking. I feel like it's a learned thing that you realize inking is all just how you render stuff and how you texture stuff. If you look at all the old EC guys, they all have ways that they rendered wood and ways that they rendered uh, certain aspects, and you can tell a Johnny Cragg piece from a Jack Davis piece, from an Al Williamson piece, just how they would render metal, how they would render wood. It's what techniques do they use? What techniques do they find that seem to work for them? It's fascinating. So like using your finger the way I just did, right, to get a faded effect. It's a technique. It's a rendering technique that I've just picked up that works for what I need it to work for. Um, that's why inking's fun. Nice. Okay. And we've got one more little guy in the back here. We're going to do the same thing we did over here with this one. Push that in the back. Originally, I had this idea for this, that he was going to be climbing out of a mountain, and it didn't work. It just didn't feel right. I couldn't figure out why. Still don't know why. Compositionally, it just wasn't that interesting, so I'm much happier with these little weird things. In the background. Kind of framing the piece a little bit more. All right. Cued. I haven't drawn his hand here. I haven't drawn this little guy here. Got a couple of things to do. Rocks are always fun. What debris? Great. What I am going to do is make sure I draw this character correctly. Let's go into my email. Search. Updated info. Something seems off. All right, great. Aha. So now here is where I say everything when I've been like, oh, I'm going to draw everything with a brush and a pen. And I lie. And I go in with a micron. And that's okay. Sometimes I just need to add elements. I'm just trying to make sure I get the character design right. And I could have sworn this character had black leggings. They do not. They do have a belt. Great, great. We're also going to just add these eyes in with the micron. Just some little dotty bits in there. What else? I'm going to grab this pen, just a zebra or a Tombow fine, and kind of get in here and just kind of add little bits and bulbs to these creatures. Right. Shadowing there. Alright, so now all I have, I think, is this. Oh, I've got to finish this hand. Well, I've got a whole hand, and I've got this little tiny guy in there. I think for this little tiny guy. Yeah. What the heck was that? Great. So the little tiny guy is now in there. I guess the only thing I have left is this other hand. Alright, and how long has it been? An hour and a half? That's pretty good. Alright, well, it took me an hour and a half to get this thing done. Just about. I don't think there's any. Do a little bit more rendering on this back foot. Just to push it back a little more. I think we're pretty much. We might go in with the marker just in a little bit of places, not too crazy. Just to unify some of this lower half with the upper half. Certain areas pop out a little bit more. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for this here stream. Go ahead and sign my name at the bottom. Boom. Thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out. We have done it. We've finished this piece for Chris Anderson. If something seems off, coming to Kickstarter soon. I'm not entirely sure when it is. When I get this piece colored, this stream will go to everybody. I'll hold off until the whole piece is done before posting it, because you can do that on Substack, and it's really great. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks for joining me. I had a great time. I'll see you next Wednesday, I suppose, because I'm trying to do this every Wednesday. All right. Bye.